Hello folks, Faustin Frank here, or Faustin Fly, whichever, whether you're catching me on Instagram or YouTube. I know it's been a while since I've done a last video on my piloting and how things are going, but in this video you will find out why that is. I haven't really edited it or cut it, still abroad in Greece, so I'm not going to really cut it or edit it because I just want to save time and get into the video itself. So I'm just going to talk about this video, my journey from starting to my first solo. That is the first time I flew an aircraft on my own around the circuit and landed on my own just after my 13 lessons, which is about 14 hours. Now this video is mostly for PPL students like myself who are doing it modular, because I think it's a very hard way of doing it. Almost picture it as the hardest setting on the learning, and the reason is not because it's not hard in general to learn, because it's very hard for anyone to learn flying in general, because while it's being enjoyable, it's a very hard thing to do because there's bureaucracy, there's the learning itself, getting used to your captain, your instructor, that is, the finances, are you allowed to stay in the country. But if you're a PPL student who can't be learning as a full-time profession, as a full-time job, it's very hard. So just to go over who I am, I do PPL, I live in the UK, I fly to Greece every time I can on a long weekend, almost every month, and I work about 45-50 hours a week to cover my bills. I have about 60% of the whole shebang money to get this covered. To get this covered, I made previous videos on how to get the money from scratch, what options there are for people who don't have the money, who don't have a rich relative, maybe cadetships that are out there. There's videos on my YouTube channel for this. There's also videos about how to prepare for your first, your class 1 medical, the bureaucracy surrounding that, and also there are a few videos. But now I want to talk about the lead up to the solo, and the lead up and the flights in school. So I haven't done a lot of videos for like 4 months, since about June, because this experience was so hard for multiple reasons. So if you're not doing ATPL, that is class setting, then you decide how you structure your study time. So if you're an ATPL student, the way it works, you will do ground school. It's about eight months of ground school out of the 2 years, roughly 2 years, where you just do theory and then you do your flying and then you're done. If you're a PPL like myself, you can do that, or you can do it at the same time. Now my first recommendation would be to cover about 80% of the subjects, of the PPL subjects, which are 9, which are law, AGK, that is aircraft general knowledge, performance of flight planning and performance, human limitations, meteorology, communications, a few other, navigation, and I believe there's air law and operations. I think that's it. So I think you should cover most of that. Now the reason is, or at least not necessarily set the exams, but cover it. Because the reason is, don't underestimate the beginning of how hard the beginning is of something. Now what the consensus is for me, what I found out is that people underestimate the difficulty of it, because they think it's just, oh, it's a jolly ride, you just push the rudder to the left, you push the rudder to the right, forward, backwards, blah, blah. No, it's not. Every lesson, and this may be obvious to some, but every lesson is basically a lesson. You have to know what the objective of the lessons are. And in order to focus on the flight itself, I recommend you get the theory out of the way, because the theory is just annoying. All I hear from every student pilot, to get the theory out of the way. Now I got most of the theory out of the way, and sat about 5 exams. I have 4 to go, and after this I will have the CPL exams, or the ATPL exams, which is another 13 subjects. Now if you're doing the ATPL, it's only 13 subjects. If you're doing it modular, you have to do the PPL subjects, which are 9, then the CPL subjects, which is 13. So in this stage, I will get the PPL subjects out of the way, and then as soon as possible, and then get the CPL subjects out of the way, and then finish the whole flight school. Now, I got 13 subjects now, practical subjects out of the way, and I done my first solo flight. But I still have 4 PPL subjects, theory subjects to do, which are in the way. I will make sure to get rid of these as quick as possible. Now, let's get back to why. Because you'll have to learn your aircrafts, how to actually function your aircraft. Your specified aircraft, you're going to get one, maybe a Cessna, Katana, a Diamond, an Elixir, whatever. And you'll have to learn its dimensions, you'll have to learn its speeds for takeoff, its speeds for in-cruise flight, its speeds for initial climb, its speeds for how fast it will go, a quick turn, what's the slowest flight before what's the slowest speed before a stall, what's its landing speeds, and you have to learn this flying. Then you have to learn navigation itself. Then you have to learn the entry procedures of your airport, of your aerodrome. Then you have to learn basically your surroundings or where you're going to train, and these are all full subjects within themselves, and in many ways even more important than the theory, because the theory, it's like anything, you'll use some and you won't use some. For example, in one of the theory subjects, you'll find out what cells make up your eyes, what cells make up your ears, what bones are in your ears. Now, are you actually going to use this as a pilot? Probably never. But the things that you will need to use in your practical, you need, because that's your way of flying. But you still have to know the theory in order to pass the exams. So get these out of the way. So overall, first one, get the theory out of the way as much as you can. 2, always plan ahead, not just in your flying, but in your education, and not just in your education, but if you're a PPL student, you have to plan ahead. What do I mean? You're a PPL student, maybe you're not at the school, maybe you live far away, maybe you work. You always need to be a step ahead, because there's always going to be something that you mislook and might nip you in the bud and might not let you fly. For example, what I mean is basically always, maybe if you can, plan an extra day and account for shitty weather. Bad weather. Because you may have planned that you're going to get 3 or 4 hours out of the way, but maybe the weather says you're only going to get 2. And before you get to your solo, you want to get at least 3 in a row. So always account for the day, always plan ahead. Planning ahead is the number one skill that I think a pilot should have, because it's good in the actual practical sense of flying, and it's good in life. So plan ahead for your each and every individual lesson. Don't be lazy, show up prepared what you're expected to do for that lesson. Even if you screw up, at least have a good idea of what you're expected of you. For example, if you're doing stalls, you're doing PFLs, read what your aircraft needs, read the speeds of your aircraft, be prepared, don't get stuck. That could mean look up the meteorology, look up NOTAMs, look up the weather, which you'll have to do before every flight. Be prepared and don't be scared. Number 3, try to get used to, or if you can get used to it, try to get a different captain if your chemistry don't match. I had, let's say, an interesting captain. I still have this interesting captain. He's an excellent flyer. Couldn't have asked for any better. He can do magic tricks in the air. But I feel, initially, I didn't feel too comfortable. I got to the point where I didn't actually enjoy flying because I was so nervous with this captain. And then, around about my 8th flight, I got a different captain because I didn't ask. I got a different captain because this captain got moved up to different aircrafts. So, and I thought, okay, here we go again. This guy was a general in the army, the new one I got. And this guy was much easier, much cooler, much more relaxed. And I thought, well, now we enjoy flying. But alas, this didn't last, and I got my previous captain back. But before I had doubts, I thought, am I really this bad at flying? Am I this really unconfident at flying? Or is it just my captain? Do we just not match in chemistry? And I said, no, I like flying. I done pretty well with this new guy before I got my other captain back, so it's not me. And in many cases, maybe you won't get the chance to swap your captain unless it's really, really bad. But I think it's worth a shot, guys. Don't be afraid to voice your opinion. Always be respectful. Be respectful, okay? Especially in my case, in Greece. It's a pretty militarized country. 80% of the CFIs are ex-military, so you have to give them their due respect. But that doesn't mean you have to take their way of teaching, okay? In fact, I would say it's very mature for a young cadet to be able to, let's say, stand up to the captain and say, look, or to the head CFI and say, look, I don't mesh with this guy, I can't concentrate, I explained myself very carefully, at least they know, even though I got him back, I said, look, and again, just want to put in brackets, I can now that I have my confidence because I know it's just not me, I am more confident even with him, but I needed that little break from him to know that it's not me, it's possibly him, or the mix of our chemistries is not good. But don't be afraid to ask for a new guy. The worst they'll tell you is no, and maybe they'll say, look, it's better to continue with him because you already know him, or it's better to go with him and to get used to his style. But that doesn't mean you have to take the rubbish. After every mission, you can sit down and say, look, Captain, I do this way, or I don't use those markers for VFR navigation, I don't use that tree, or I don't use that field, I use that. That's why I turn like a 2 second later, and that's why I did. I said, look, I'm not comfortable using that marker, I use that marker. It's just the way some captains are, especially in a militarized place, okay? But this guy, to give him credit, he led me to the promised land, and I flew on my own, and he was proud of me. Am I the most comfortable flying with him today? I would be lying if I said yes. He is a tough nut to crack. He is a very good instructor for some, and he's an excellent pilot. I can still learn under him, but I know if I had a more calm pilot beside me, or a person with a different teaching style, I would be more calm. I don't want to give too much away, because again, it's nobody's fault, it's just different types of teaching. So if you have an issue with an instructor, don't be afraid to ask for a new person, or don't be afraid to first maybe talk to your instructor to say, look, I want to see if we can do a different teaching style, or I can get a different captaincy, if it's me or is it you, okay? Don't be afraid to voice your opinion. You paid a lot of money to be there. Don't be afraid to voice your opinion, okay? Before the lead up to your solo, learn the landmarks around, or are we on 3, I'm not sure, whatever. Learn the landmarks around your airport, learn the procedures, learn what makes you comfortable to turn when, what your cues are, what your markers are, learn your aircraft, and don't be afraid. The day before my solo, I got really anxious. I was like, holy crap, I'm going to have to fly tomorrow on my own. But when it came to it, and I put everything full power, and speed was alive, and I took off on my own, it was, the fear left. As soon as I left the ground, the fear left. I was so happy to fly on my own. It was a great experience. And I tell you one thing, this was a Saturday, it was very rainy here in Greece. I was meant to be at the airport at 7, I was there at 6:30, like a good guy. I was there early, done my flight plan, done my mass and balance and everything. 4 hours of non-stop rain. I'm sick, I was still sick back then, shaking, shivering, nerves, like come on, let's just fly, I want to go do this. And then boom, after 5 hours of waiting, and there was a 2-hour window to go with my captain to practice the landings. Of course, he was being his usual self. Tough but fair, that's the way I'm going to describe it. Tough but fair, could be a bit more chill, but tough but fair, whatever, I don't want to beat the heart. And he said, okay, you've done 3 good landings, I'll let you do the 4th one on your own. Do what we talked about, don't forget to flare at the end, hold it, and don't forget your speed. Don't drop below the speed, just make sure you keep that effing speed and that effing height, and you'll be alright, okay? I said effing, not, I was being PC, child friendly, whatever, right? And yeah, just go for it, People told me before it's going to be beautiful, your first solo is so nice, 14 minutes, your life is in your hands, they're not going to release you, Okay, if they're not confident with your way, they're not going to release you. If you're landing sideways, about to get off the runway, they're not going to be, oh, just go because to prove a point. Keep in mind that their professional career rides on this. So I'm just checking the time. They're not going to let you go if they don't feel that you're ready. So don't be too afraid of that. Okay. So yeah. So yeah, I done my first solo, but it is a milestone, fellas. Okay, don't be afraid. That's all I can say. For PPL students in my shoes, who have to work, who have to study, plan ahead. Try to get most of the theory out of the way, if not all. If you're about to start right now with your journey of being a PPL student or modular student, I would recommend that you get most of the exams out of the way, 6-7 exams out of the way. And because flying in itself is hard in the beginning, it gets really easy about the 10th hour, the 10th lesson, it starts being easier. But it takes time to get up to that, you know. In my first 4 hours, especially with this captain who I didn't really mesh well, in the beginning at least, now it's getting a bit better, but still, it was very tough. It was the middle of the summer in Greece, it was constantly warm, I couldn't concentrate. I was a bit afraid as well. I didn't enjoy flying that much. And it took me a while to get into the swing of things. It took me a while to actually be like confident to fly, to touch the RPM, the gear, the manifold, the rudder. Never mind, navigating still scares me a little bit. And then of course now I'm getting a new plane because they're selling the old ones that I'm training on, so I'm gonna have to train myself again on a new plane, the speeds, the VR speed, the climb speed, the in-cruise speed, the whole shebang, the whole everything. Cockpit's gonna be different. And you don't need the extra worry of doing theory and passing exams. So I would say every time you can, get as much theory out the way as you can. Because again, apart from the theory, you're going to have to learn your airplane. You're going to have to learn the rules and procedures of the runway. You're going to have to navigate your surroundings at the airport. You're going to have to know, you're going to have to get used to your captain. You're going to need to get funds. You're going to have to work if you're a PPL student like myself, because if you were able to get all the money at the same time, you wouldn't work, so you wouldn't do PPL, you would do the whole ATPL. And there's so much bureaucracy, and that's not talking about if you're like a student who needs a special reason to be in the country. I heard so many students from the Middle East who say, I need to go back to Iraq, I need to go back to Dubai and then come back again to be in the law of me being here. I need to, oh God guys, there's so much of this business is not actually flying. That's unbelievable. I would say people think, oh, you're a student pilot, great, you're in an airplane all day, RPM forward, manifold pressure forward, landing, Tom Cruise, the glasses, the Rolex. No. 90% of this is just paperwork. I would say about 50% is about studying theory. The other 40% is about bureaucracy or money, or making sure you're legal in the country that you're studying, or trying to figure out what the hell you're actually doing, and only about 10% is about the flying. So if I had to put together the amount of hours I've been done so far, it's probably like, well, I'd say I've been doing about 4 months. I've been in this business for about 4 months now. I studied about 4 hours a day. So I don't know, four times a week is 20 times 4 is 80 times 4 is 320. So I've done about 320 hours related to flying with the theory and the writing emails, and only about 15 hours of that is flying. You do the maths, that's what, about 6-7% of what flying is with actual flying, right? So I would say, so again, to go back to the lead up to the solo, preparation, don't be afraid to respectfully challenge your instructor. Get the bureaucracy down. You will get more confident as you go in, okay? Don't quit. I'm still sometimes on shaky ground, but don't quit. About the 10th, 11th, maybe 12th hour, you'll get more confident with your aircraft, your situation. Be prepared for the unexpected. For example, with me, I had to be prepared for the unexpected. With the whole, we're getting new planes, so I have to train with a new plane now. And before I go, I'll tell you a funny story, okay? So, in September RPM, I done my first exam, my PFL, Flight Planning and Performance exam. This was a release exam for the actual exam. I've done it here. I failed it. So I go home, I study all day, and I'm like, okay, look, if I don't pass this crap tomorrow, because I still have another 2 exams after AGK and law, if I don't pass this crap tomorrow, I'm not bothered. I'm not gonna go in. Like, I'm not having fun actually flying. I'm failing exams, you know. I was like, look, what the hell, whatever. So I wake up the next morning at 7 o'clock. I have my exam at 9. I get my coffee. My stuff is drying outside. My shirt. I go outside in my underwear, and I'm at this accommodation where the door slides closed on its own, and if you slides closed on its own and it shuts, you know where this is going. I go outside in my underwear with just my shirt, no phone on me, no wallet, no nothing, not even any shoes, bro, nothing, and the door locks behind me. Can get back in. I'm outside at 7 o'clock in the morning with just underwear and just my shirt on my back, no gadgets on me. I start banging on the door, can't get back in. I have an exam in 2 hours. If this was in my life, it would have been a comedy. I have an exam in 2 hours, and I'd have no way left. I'm able to kick this door down. Nothing's opening this door. This lady comes out, says, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, not really." I told her, "Look, I need to be in an exam in about an hour and a half. I have no phone, no cash, no nothing, and I have to phone the owner." Bottom line, this angel of a woman, this mum helps me out and says, "Look, come upstairs. I give you female black jeans. I give you my shoes. I give you 20 euros to go to the airport." And it was just enough to get me there. And then I had to borrow money there to come back. I phoned up the house owner and said, "Look, can you please fix my door? I'm really sorry. I locked myself out. I still have no phone on me. I still have no wallet on me. I still have no ID on me, no nothing." I managed to get to the school with ladies' jeans, black jeans, white hip and crap, with trainers. But, you know, the good Lord, I do believe in him, helped me out and managed to actually pass my exam at 75%, just the pass mark. And at the end of the day, I just went home and I was like, you know what? This was one of the most stressful days in my life. I had to borrow money from like 2 different people. I bumped a cigarette for the first time in 4 months because I was so stressed. But at the end of the day, I passed my other 2 exams as well, with ladies' jeans on, with sneakers on, no tie, looking like God knows what. So I thought, okay, this was one of the most stressful things. If I can pass this, fine, I'll keep going. If not, then no. Things like this happen, guys. Prepare for the unexpected. This was my first lead up to my solo. I don't know what my next video will be. I'll try to do more as I go along, because I am getting a bit more into the swing of things. It takes time, guys. For some people it's really smooth, for some people it's really hard, but at least my experience makes for a better story. Okay guys, so this is the Faustian Fly, Faustian Frank. I'm not going to edit this video at all, just going to load it up, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one, okay?